Recently, there's been an uptick in the call for a specified number of elective and appointed positions to be reserved for Nigerian women. Those who push this position argue that in spite of well-known challenges, Nigerian women folk are imbued with amazing potential and critically proven abilities to contribute meaningfully to the political and economic development of the country. Well, we are now being joined on Newsday by Ene Obi, a former country director of Action Aid Nigeria, well, to discuss the recent proposal in the National Assembly promoting women empowerment and how the affirmative action agenda can be achieved. It's great to have you here on the program. Welcome, Ene Obi.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
Well, we've all been aware of this 35% affirmative action, and lots of discussion has emanated from it, but not much has been implemented so far. In the political sphere, in your opinion, can political parties be incentivized or even mandated to adopt a quota or internal gender quotas for candidate selection in primary elections? Is this even something that has ever been discussed, or do you think it's possible to implement?
There has been a lot of discussions, on the issue of the quota or increased representation for Nigerian women in the political space, and also, when you talk about elected positions and appointed positions. The issue of 35% affirmative action, women rose, after 2019, elections, general elections. When we saw the drop in terms of the percentages of representation of women, we argued and we talked about how else can we get it, because Nigeria is signatory, or Nigeria was part of Beijing 30 years ago. And we came up with, looking at all of that, some of our team members took the government to court, and we got the injunction, got the judgment of 35% affirmative action, because what we're talking about is in the Constitution, it says no discrimination. But when it comes to appointed position and then elected position, women are underrepresented, heavy representation of men, and what we have right now in both at the national life and also at the state levels, you have men's parliament. Because if you go to the national level, you have the Senate is 109, and out of that 109, you have 4 women. We still have issues with one of the seats, which is, with Senator Natasha, who is not in the assembly right now. We hope they will resolve the issue, quickly, so that we don't lose. It's like having 3 seats now at the Senate. At the, at the House of Representatives, with 360, membership, you have only about 14 women. Sometimes it dwindles who wins the court, sometimes it's 14 or 16, and so on, out of 360. It's really shameful. And that's why we came up with after getting the judgment of the 35% affirmative action, no implementation so far. And I agree with you that the political lives you have, in terms of political parties, 35% affirmative action. I think the current IPAC has moved. Even the past, before that election, the last IPAC led by Engineer Ayabagi, they were able to create 30% or 35% of affirmative action in terms of their National Executive Council. That has been achieved by the current IPAC. They have also created even a directorate, on women representation, which is led by a DG, Hajia Zainab. So we are having them also coming to say that, in everything. I think the bill that were thrown out in 2022, where we had a lot of protests, against the 5 gender bills that were thrown out, also had to do with affirmative action. 35% in terms of representation, and also, in all of the spheres. We have appointed position, which is an easier one. The political will has not been there for the Nigerian political, leadership. Many of them promised that they were going to meet. Even Buhari said he was going to have 40% affirmative action. He never moved. And the same thing with the current government that we have. Because when you say appointed positions, you have government agencies, more than 300 government agencies. How many women are represented in their board or in their leadership and all of that? This is very, very important in our national lives. For the political parties, one of the things that is happening, what is on ground now, is the bills at the National Assembly. We have the 74 seats special bill, which is in the House of Representatives. It has gone through readings, and then and that one, what it is saying is that the number of women in both houses are so few, and so we are asking for one more seat, for like 37 seats for the Senate. That is one seat per each per each state for only women to vie. And also in the House of Representatives, that one seat is allotted for women to also vie, so you can jumpstart. What we are talking about is like having, the Federal Character Commission, which brings in diversity, a lot of diversity in the representation. If not, one tribe cannot occupy because of the population of Nigeria. Same principles can be used to correct the imbalance. But what we have now, in the House of Representatives, you have the special seat bill. In the House, in the Senate, you have the that's the gender equal opportunity, the equal opportunity bill, gender equal opportunity bill, GEO bill. Which has passed through readings as well. And that one is talking about women representation, the issue of the 35% affirmative action, the issue of violence against women, the issue of representation of persons with disability, the issue of also looking at rights for widows and so on, and so on. That is also there, and we hope that they will find a measure to be able to pass these bills. What these bills will require is a constitutional amendments, and that's what is being sought. That is what is used in other crimes. Most of them is either through nomination or constitutional amendment. Rwanda had it with equal, constitutional amendment. The same thing Senegal also have now. Senegal has 50-50 in terms of representation, and it's all done in collaboration with, the political parties.
So, Anna, what are the potential benefits of promoting women's leadership and participation in governance, particularly in terms of development and social progress?
I remember the words of Kofi Annan of blessed memory, who says that there is no meaningful development that can happen unless, women are on the table. And, so when you are looking at the quality of any decision depends on who is in the boardroom. If you don't have people in the boardroom, the decision that will come out will only be the representation of those who are in the boardroom. We have maternal mortality, which is like Nigeria is among the 5 last in the world, which means every woman who is pregnant in Nigeria is on the maternity death road because of the kind of health systems that we operate. And the same thing with child mortality. Who does it affect more if you don't have hospitals today? The issues of gender, public services. Public services, even in our schools, in the secondary schools or primary schools, down to, the universities. If you don't have issues of public services, efficient public services, it will affect women more. So what we are saying is, he who wears the shoes knows where it pinches. That's an African adage. And if women are not on the table, then who is going to decide for them? When men are taking decisions, I give you an example. At one point, we had a humanitarian, there was a disaster, flood disaster, and we had to raise money within my office quickly. And the first thing that was sent, the first items that were sent were decided by men. But we said, no, what are you doing? So we calmed down, because when there is a disaster and there is a movement out of people's homes, in emergencies, women are still going to have their children. So you have women having children, whether they are stopping somewhere, whether there is an emergency or no emergency, when it's time for a woman's, for a child to come, the child will come. And so women are still giving birth, and then women are still, following their menstrual cycles and all of that. Girls are still going through all this, even when you move them from a home. We went to a particular place, I think that was in Niger, one of the IDPs that was, there was an emergency, and we went there. My team were on the field. And a woman was just sitting at the same place, whatever, she had just had a baby. There was nothing to use sanitation to clean her up. There was nothing. That was a bigger emergency that we had to rescue and give her back her dignity immediately. We had to do that. So wherever these things are happening, women are so affected. And when you have conflicts, a lot of issues, we are discussing this now, the issue of, Chibok girls is still on ground. There are so many girls who are still held in captivity. How many people are talking about them? It's like we're all moving in our national lives and things are normal. It's not normal to those who are in their homes. Women, young girls are being held. Nobody is talking about, majority of the people we just celebrate. Annually, we say we are marking this, but what of the mothers, the parents of those children? And we want the leadership of the country to look at these children as their own. And so when we are talking about women representation, more women will mean more women discussing different issues that affect women. And we should not be operating with just a male environment. Who are we talking about? We're talking of your daughters. We're talking of your sisters. Are you protecting them? We're talking of your mothers, your aunties and uncles and cousins. At the end of the day, who is going to occupy those positions? Your children needs to sit at the table, both boys and girls, and discuss the issues to move the country forward.
Very well said, and in conclusion, what education or even awareness campaigns can be utilized to combat some of these historical prejudices we have against women in society, the societal issues towards women in leadership, and even encourage more women to aspire to take up more space in these offices, despite the enormous challenges that they have to overcome, not just for being a woman, but being women in male-dominated environments.
Thank you very much. I think we need to move forward. We know that the public hearings are coming up soon on the special seat bill. Other bills that are coming. We have the commitment of the Senate President and his team to say the bills that are coming, they are going to be able to table it, and they are not going to turn away the bills related to women, as was done in the 9th Assembly. We hope that they will be able to pass it, and we ask, women. There's so many organizing, going on. The UN Women has been, really coordinating a lot of activities towards that. And there are so many women organizations. We have the Women's Political Participation, the technical group, which is headed by Ebere Ifendu, Barrister Ebere Ifendu, and many others, and so many consultants working and seeing how they can support women to have a better understanding, and also men to have a better understanding of what we're talking about. We're talking of a way forward. A lot of people argue about women leading them, and I say we are not in a competition. Nobody is in a competition. We want a better life. We want men and women to work together. We want development in our countries. And if a woman can hold a child, 9 months during pregnancy and nurture that child for the 9 months and then coming out again, to where we are today, we should know that women can hold trust. A lot of trust is very important. And we hope that we can sanitize our electoral systems too, so that there can be fair contests, between men and women. But at this moment, we need to correct the imbalance. And that's why we need a deliberate step to amend some parts of the Constitution to allow women to take their seats and also make it more meaningful. And so we continue to urge the parliament to be able to pass the laws, because in 14 houses of assembly right now, we don't even have a single woman. And in all of this environment, you have women's committees being headed by women. Nigeria should not be a laughing stock. And what that is telling the world, because Nigeria is at the bottom, in the international parliament in terms of women representation. If we don't move forward, we become a laughing stock. Is it that we don't have capable women in Nigeria? This is not the time. Even at the time where we had women who were not quite educated, we had the Gambo Sawaba, we had Fumilayo Ransom Kuti and Margaret Ekpo and all of them. And they struggled and they made their voices heard. We are saying that You have thousands of women, even retired judges, retired professors, and so on and so forth. So you can't find capable women. Utilize your resources properly, and let's make a meaningful development in the country. We are at the bar, at the low level of development itself. So I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity, and I hope that, we can all make a difference together. And I say thanks to you, in the media house for all you have been able to do.
Well, former Country Director of ActionAid Nigeria, NLB, thank you so much for joining us on Newsday.